honest, have been just flooding back like crazy. And it's not often that I have a day like today. Of course, I think about certain things from the past, every once in a while, but today it has just been, I don't know, it's just been one of those days where it seems like just everything is coming at you at once, I suppose, and it has been a little bit difficult to deal with, and I'm really hoping that just by talking about it, even if I don't post this video, it will at least make me feel better inside. I'm hoping. A lot of you have really, really been enjoying I did not want anything else to do with the relationship. We did not, I guess you could say, technically break up because I don't know, we never had that talk like I'm leaving or you're leaving. Well, no, I take that back. There was one time where he basically I told him, I was like, just get your stuff and go. And I know that sounds harsh, but there was a lot leading up to that. But anyway, so we're kind of doing this whole, are we in a relationship? Are we not? Basically just living as really good friends at that point. And so we decided to get a house together, even, being in this, I guess, this weird type of relationship. No one knew. My parents did not know. My friends did not know. His friends, his parents, no one knew. Everybody just thought that everything was perfect, and we were this happy couple. My parents have always just adored him. They pretty much think of him just as their son. Like, that's how much they love him, and he's a great guy. I don't have anything negative to say about him. So let me get back to the whole story. So we decided that we were going to purchase a house together in November of 2005. So that's what we did. And we were still in this weird kind of best friends relationship. So we bought our house, and everything was great. We were really excited to be in a house and not an apartment. The train is going off in the background, so I'm hoping that's not too loud. So yeah, we were in our house, and I don't really know how to set this up without giving away too much information, and I don't want to do that, but basically, I started talking to someone, and it started out as just over the phone, and then progressed to us speaking, like through webcams and all of that online. And this was not anybody that I met online. I want to put that out there. So yeah, but from the second that I heard this person's voice, it was like something went off inside of me, and I knew that this was the person that I was supposed to be with for the rest of my life. Just from that very, very first conversation. So we had somewhat of a, I guess you could say, phone relationship. I don't know. We talked about everything and shared everything about both of our lives from about November. It was right after we bought our house that he and I started talking. So November of 2005, all the way up until, or wait, let me back up a little. My family and I, we went to Hawaii in April of 2006, and Chris went with us, of course, because he's part of the family, and it was my parents and my brother, my stepsister, my sister and her boyfriend, and then myself and Chris. And I told myself that during this time that I was going to take a break from talking to this other guy because I needed to see what I really wanted. Did I want to, see if we had something in real life? Was it more than just over the phone and on our webcams? Or, should I just stay where I'm at and be in this comfortable best friends relationship with Chris that I had been in for, quite some time now? So, about halfway through our trip to Hawaii, this guy is blowing up my phone. He's texting me, he's calling me, and it was like every single day that I went without talking to him, it killed me. I mean, I would go to sleep at night just thinking about hearing his voice. So, one day, I got on my webcam, I snuck in another room, and we talked while I was there in Hawaii, and he looked absolutely terrible. Like, he had not, I don't even think he had bathed in the last 2 or 3 days. It was just a big mess. And at this point, we still had not told each other. Like, I I knew how he felt about me, and he knew how I felt about him, but neither one of us had said anything. Okay, so we talked in Hawaii, and it was not a very long conversation, but I feel like that was kind of the big start of all of this, because we knew that we were both miserable without even talking to one another, and we knew that that was something that we were going to have to change. We had our trip to Hawaii, and that was great. We came back home, and this guy and I, we talked for, that was April of 2006. We talked until January of 2007, still without meeting. He was out of the country for business, and I wasn't even sure if he was going to come back here, because he had somewhat made a life for himself over there, and I understood that. And I could not see myself going where he was, and so I knew that if anything was going to happen, like if there was any chance of us being together, that it would have to come from him, and that he would have to, come back here. So January of 2007 he did, and we met for the first time, physically met for the first time, and it was crazy. It was almost like I could feel his presence there, like before we even met. It was like I knew exactly where he was, if that makes any sense. So I ended up meeting his kids the first day that I met him, and that was something that was, at the time, it was overwhelming to me, because he didn't let anybody meet his kids. I mean, we had talked about it before, and up until the last minute of him coming here, I was not even 100% sure that they were going to come with him, but I was so glad that they did. So we hit it off immediately, and his children, I just absolutely adored them. They were just so precious, and it was weird because I had had several conversations with them over webcam, and so in a way I felt like I had already known them as well. I had sent them little gifts the previous year for their birthdays and everything. So they came and they stayed several days, and I don't really know how to explain the entire thing other than to just say that everything about it felt right. It felt like we had all been a part of each other's lives forever. I already loved him so much and just adored his children. I thought they were just the greatest, the cutest little things ever, and they were just so sweet. And so it was really, that first time, it was really hard to say goodbye, but we did. There may have been a few tears shed from he and I both. We went back and forth, mainly with him coming here. It was difficult for me to go there because I did not tell Chris about this. I knew that Chris was seeing someone. I don't even know if you would call it seeing someone. He was with someone, and I knew, but I also knew that he wasn't going to tell me, and so I felt like the relationship that I had with this man was not anyone's business. And so I did not tell Chris about it, but I kind of figured in the back of my mind that he knew. I never, threw it in his face or anything like that. In fact, when I left to go places, I was sneaking off pretty much, just because I did not want him to know. I was working at a daycare at the time, and I was teaching preschool, and there may have been a lot of days where I called in where I was supposed to be at work, where people thought that I was at work and I wasn't, but that's okay. relationship was perfect. It's kind of like one of those relationships that you see in the movies, and you don't, you're thinking this is not real, this isn't really how it happens, but we had that. Every second that we were together, we had that. And, we were alike in every way imaginable, and he would tell me things about himself, things that he thought about or experiences that he had had. And it was just crazy because he was older than I was by many years. I'm not going to give his exact age, but he was quite older. But the experiences that he had had and the way that he thought about things was the exact same way that I thought about things. Our views on everything were exactly the same. He was extremely shy and quiet, and it was funny sometimes to embarrass him and to kind of see when he was kind of starting to get embarrassed, and he was just very reserved, I guess is a better way to put it. So anyway, we had the most amazing relationship. Never in my life have I ever met anyone like him. He was so caring and he was just the most amazing man I have honestly ever known. And he was such a wonderful, wonderful father. We talked about having children of our own constantly. And I wanted so many kids with him. We talked about it, for hours on end sometimes, talking about what we would name our children and where we were going to live and just all of this stuff. I know that a lot of people don't believe in soulmates, and they just think that it's nonsense. And to be honest, I don't want to say that I wasn't someone who believed in them, but it was kind of one of those things that I just kind of, brushed off when I heard people mention it. But I have no doubt in my mind that we were soulmates and that he was the one that I was meant to be with forever. So this is so hard to talk about because I'm speaking a lot in past tense, so you guys can probably, figure out that he's no longer here. He passed away several years ago, and it was really strange because that day I woke up and I felt different. I was sad, and I did not feel like myself. I went to the store that day to pick up some groceries, and I was on one aisle, and I remember hearing his laugh, and I turned around and there was no one there. And several hours later, I received a call from someone that worked for him, and basically all he said was that he was gone. The second that I heard that, I fell to the ground. I couldn't breathe. I could not even talk. I still, to this day, I remember just hearing his voice and him say that he was gone, and at that moment, I felt like I had no purpose. I had no reason to be here because I could not imagine living 1 second without him in my life, or 1 second without him being here with me. So when I found that out, obviously I completely just lost it. I don't even know. It was not anything that I was prepared for. It was something that was sudden when he was here, if that makes any sense at all. So, over the last several years, I have tried my best to have a relationship with his children. They are almost grown now, and it has just been extremely hard. So even after he passed away, I reached out to his mom and said, I know that you don't care for me and you have your reasons, and I don't know, I guess I really wanted to have not necessarily a relationship with her, but I wanted to be able to talk to her because they weren't close. I mean, they were somewhat close, but not as close as a lot of mothers and sons are, and he wasn't really close to anyone in his family. And so, especially with his mom, after he passed, I thought that, we could somewhat, communicate, and I would have loved to have shared stories with her about, the things that we did together and the places that we went and things that he shared with me. And I would have just absolutely loved to have, heard stories about him when he was little, and that was something that I really wanted, but she basically told me that she didn't want anything to do with me, and that she wanted me to not try to have a relationship with his children. His children were everything to me. They were my world, and they still are, even though we no longer have a relationship. I love them so much, and I just want them to be happy and healthy. That's all that I want for them. When they were younger, they called me Mom, and I could not have loved them anymore if they were my own biological children. After he passed, I went months without speaking to them. His family pretty much did not want me to have anything to do with them, and they made that quite clear. The kids weren't even allowed to mention my name around his family. Pretty much his entire family was really horrible to me. I could spend hours talking about some of the things that they did, some of the things they said, and what they put me through, but I'm not going to do that. I just felt so lost and alone, and I knew in my heart that his family keeping the children from me was the last thing in the world that he would have wanted. We had talked about me adopting them just months prior to him passing, and I have replayed that conversation over and over again in my mind. I felt like not only did I lose him when he passed, but I also lost the relationship that I had with his children. And that's something that still to this day, it's very difficult to deal with and accept. So on my birthday, the year that he passed away, one of his nephews allowed the children to call me, and just being able to hear their voices was the absolute best birthday present I have ever received. From there, we did start to have regular phone conversations, and we would talk via Skype about once a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. His oldest son and I really became close. I guess it was about 2 years after he had passed, and there were times where we would talk for hours on the phone, almost daily at one point. And then as time passed by, we just drifted apart. The kids called me less, and I didn't want to bother them, so I called them less. And there were a few conversations that we had that were not very pleasant, and it did not go so well. But it has now been about a year since I have spoken to them. I tried calling on their birthdays this year, voice messages, but they didn't return any of my calls. His oldest son just graduated from high school, and I am just so incredibly proud of him. And I wish that I could tell him that, but I don't want to say what's the point, because there's obviously a point, but I feel as though the best thing to do is just love them from a distance at this point. They're on Facebook and other social media sites, and while I'm not friends with them, I can still see some of what they post. And so that's pretty much how I keep up with them and what's going on in their lives. I don't know, it's really, really hard, and I hear people say, when you lose someone, like, oh, it gets better, and it'll take time, or give it time, but to be 100% honest, I have lost so many people in my life, family members, friends, and his death, there's just nothing to even compare it to. The way that I still feel after all of these years is just broken and empty, and just not the same person. I'm just not, and I know that I never will be. It's just it's not that I'm finding it hard to deal with, and a lot of people say, like I said, that it gets easier, but for me, and this is just me being honest, nothing has got any easier. There are times when I just completely have to block him out of my mind, because if I did not do that, then I would be sitting here thinking about him every second of every day. For me, I think the only thing that time has done, it has just allowed me to be able to conceal the way that I feel better. I've learned how to hide that from people. This man was the most selfless man, the most selfless person I have ever known in my life. He gave to others same without him. I used to write about the things that we did together and the places that we went. We were crazy, and some of the things we did were crazy. He surprised me with a trip to New York one time, and basically he just said, "We're going somewhere," and we got on a plane and spent the entire day in New York and then came back that evening. And that was just insane. That was not my life, but it was when we were together, if that makes any sense. So, going back to me writing everything down, after he passed, his brother had told me that he was sending me something, and I thought it was strange because, for one, I was having issues with just about everyone in his family at that point. I had asked them several months prior if I could just have a few things of his, and I'll just say their response was not very kind. It turned into this big deal and just a big mess, and basically I ended up getting a shirt that I had bought him myself and a necklace, and that was it. And they ended up donating the rest of his clothes and everything. So I kind of felt like that was a big slap in the face, but anyway, his brother told me that he had something he was sending me, and it ended up being page after page of things he had written down during our relationship. He actually started it prior to us physically meeting. He started writing all of the stuff down when we were just talking on the phone. And the funny thing was that I was doing the exact same thing, but neither of us knew. And I am so grateful and thankful that his brother did send that to me, because he could have easily just chosen to throw it away, and I would have never even known that it existed. So, I mean, that's something that I will cherish and treasure forever, and it's helped me somewhat. Sometimes it's a little too difficult for me to read, and then there are other times where I feel as though it helps. So that is something that I have turned to over these last few years. I feel as though, as hard as these last few years have been, I would go through all of this pain over and over again if it meant that I had just one day with him. I feel like what we shared, even though it was short, was enough to last me a lifetime. And I think that's something rare. I feel as though people are always looking for the next best thing, or they're constantly trying to just look for something better, I suppose. But I know that was it for me, and I will never be as happy as I was when we were together, and that's okay with me. I'm not saying that to sound somewhat depressed or anything like that, but I just know in my heart and soul that that's true, and I'm okay with that. I sometimes think that almost that it's meant for me to feel this way, because if I did not love him the way that I did and the way that I still do, then I would be able to possibly move on, or be able to feel differently than I do now. As I mentioned previously, Chris did not know about my relationship with this man. My parents did not even know. My brother is the only one in my family that knew, and he did not know really to what extent this man and I were, I guess, seeing one another. He thought that this was just someone that I was speaking with over the phone and shared, I guess, a common interest with. So when he passed away, I literally had no one, and it got to the point where I thought about killing myself. I did not want to be here without him. I years, but it was almost as if I forgot what it was like, how to live, prior, what it was like before him. I forgot what life was before him, if that makes any sense. So I eventually broke down and I told my mom everything, and she said that she knew there had been someone for quite some time, just because she knows me so well and she picks up on things. And so I told her, and that was kind of, I don't know, in some ways I felt good about telling her, but then in some ways I felt bad, almost guilty, because I felt like we had this secret, this wonderful and amazing secret that, people didn't know, and now I'm telling my mom and my family, and they know, and it's not all ours anymore, if that makes sense. And I wanted my parents to meet him, and he wanted to meet my parents. He asked so many times, and it wasn't that I did not think they would approve, because I knew that they would just be in love with him. It was just the fact that I didn't really want to share him with anyone, and I know that sounds crazy and stupid and just out there, but I felt like we had our own little bubble, and we lived in our own little bubble, and it was just us and the children, and that's all there was. We just needed each other, and that was it. It has been several years now since he's passed, and like I said, it's not that it's gotten any easier. Some days are a little better than others, but there are times when I hear a song, that comes on the radio, or I'll be listening to my iPod and a certain song will come on, and I just have to pull over and cry, because it reminds me of us or of him, and it's so strange, because there's a part of me that if I just close my eyes, I feel like it just all happened yesterday, and that's really weird. My candle just is suddenly lit back up on its own, but it just seems like it was yesterday. And then there are other times that it just feels like a lifetime ago, and I feel so old, and I don't really know any other way to explain it. It's just, a lot of people, I think, would wish and hope for the pain to go away, but I don't want it to, because I almost feel like if I didn't feel that anymore, it would almost be selfish in a way. I don't know if that makes any sense. There are so many times that I know that he's still here with me. I feel him around me, or I will see something, and I know without a doubt that he had something to do with it. In the very beginning, I was just a mess, and I remember, just praying. I prayed to God to just take me in my sleep, because I did not think that I could live without him. I cried every single night, all night long, and I remember one night just praying for a sign, anything that would let me know that he was still here, or that he could hear me. And literally within a couple of minutes, there was a tapping noise on one of the windows at the front of our house, and I was freaked out because I had no idea what it was. This was probably 2 or 3 in the morning, and so I went and I turned our back porch light on, and there was this huge, gigantic moth that was almost knocking itself into one of our windows, and I knew that that was my sign, that was a sign that he sent to let me know that he was still here in some sort of way. And there have been so many instances since then that he has given me a sign, and I feel like in those say that's what I live for, but that's all that I need in those moments when I'm feeling like I just can't go on any longer. And I don't ask for signs all of the time. It's just on those rare occasions when I truly feel like I just need something. I need some type of reassurance just to let me know that he can hear me or that he knows what I'm feeling. And I immediately feel just so much better in those moments. I've had so many dreams about him, and I just pray, like during those dreams, I know it's a dream every single time, and I never want to wake up from those, and it's so hard when I finally do. Because I just want to go back to that place and be with him. And it's not easy at all. It's definitely not easy, but I just take one day at a time, and for some reason today was just extremely hard. There were just so many memories that just kept flooding back. I mean, it was one thing after another, and so that's, I guess, pretty much it. I don't even know how long this video is going to be, and you can't even see me right now because it is almost completely dark. Both of these candles are almost out, but I felt like I just wanted to talk about this for some reason. I have been thinking for a while how I am going to include this part of my life into the Get to Know Me series because it is a big part of my life. Chris and we still live together. We still have our house together, and I consider him my boyfriend. I mean, we say that we're boyfriend and girlfriend, and I love him. I love Chris with all of my heart, and I always have. But I truly, a part of me left the day that this man left, and I just, I don't know. There are so many things that I feel like I want to talk about, even on here, just whispered rambles about things, but I don't want to say too much because I know at one time his son was watching my videos very early on when I first started my channel. I don't think he watches them anymore, but I don't know. And this man is actually the reason that I started making videos. I was just at a really low point at that time, and I needed something to distract me and just give me something to do other than just to sit at home and think about him. And so I thought that I would try ASMR videos. I had been using them for a while to help me with anxiety and just kind of stress and all of that. He and we used to tell each other these weird little bedtime stories, and I know it sounds so stupid, but yeah, we used to do that, and I don't know, I just felt like this would be a good way to kind of give back and sort of do something that I know that he would approve of, I guess, in a way. And so that's basically how and why I started my channel. I guess I owe that to him in a way. But yeah, so I don't even know if I will ever post this video, and even if I do, I very seriously doubt anyone is going to make it all the way through this because I think I've been talking for, I don't even know, quite some time now, maybe 40 minutes, 50 minutes possibly. I just felt like I needed to get all of this out tonight. I still have family members that have no clue that he and I were ever together, just people that I don't really feel comfortable telling, and I'm talking about close family members. But yeah, Chris obviously knows. I told him everything, and it didn't change anything with us. It's hard to explain our relationship because I don't even know what people would think or what they do think, but he is my best friend, and every day he knows what I struggle with. He knows like how hard it is he's been the person that, has been here for me, and there's no one else in the world I would rather have by my side than him, and I am just thankful for him, and I'm thankful that he is a part of my life. However weird our relationship is, I know that, like I said, people are not going to, or they don't understand our relationship, and I get that, but I just feel like what works for one person or one couple may not work for another, and I think that is completely fine. I think everyone is different, and I don't think anyone should really compare their relationship to someone else's. I'm kind of one of these people that just do you, and if it works for you, that's great, and don't worry about what other people say or what other people think, because in the end, you are the one that is responsible for your happiness. The people who are, questioning or talking, back behind your back, they're not responsible for that. That's the way that I look at it anyway. If any of you are still around and you're still listening to this, then thank you so much for sticking out this entire, I guess it's kind of more of an audio session now since my lighting has gone. I hope that you all are well, and just remember that nothing in this life is promised. Everything that we have today can be gone tomorrow. We never know. I mean, in an instant, every single thing that you love could be gone. Every person that you love could be gone. And if there's someone in your life that you feel does not know how you feel about them, then please, please tell them. I was fortunate enough. I know that this man knows how I felt about him, and I know that he knows how, that I know how he felt about me. There was never any doubt or any question about that. And it's somewhat interesting because I love him so much, even now, still. It's just almost like a different kind of love. I've had to learn how to love him in a different way, if that makes any sense. And I promise I'm not crazy. It's just different. I think when someone passes, you still love them, and that never changes, but it's a different feeling. I don't know if any of you have lost someone that you're that close with. Maybe you could comment below if you understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's just a different type, or a different kind of love is the best way that I know to explain it. I still, every birthday, I get him a card, every Christmas, and I just write a message in it, and I put it away, and that's something that is very important to me, and something that I will continue doing for the rest of my life. It's just a way that I guess I cope with him not being here for those important dates. And yeah, okay, thank you so much for watching if you are still with me, and I suppose I'll end this here because honestly I could go on and on and on, but I'm probably going to stop here. And I just want to say how thankful I am to every single person who listens to my videos, who watches my videos. It truly does mean a lot to me, and I am thankful that I can share things like